So hi guys, yeah, so we had a bit of a technical issue. I don't use Pro, so we had to log out and log back in. But we're gonna continue this conversation for you guys. So the next question I had for my guests was, so who do you think is a better communicator, men or women? And that's in relationships, of course, in the context of relationship dating.
Mm, do I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I would say women from a general standpoint,
Yeah.
right? I'll say women. Because guys can be very egotistic when it comes to feelings, speaking how they actually feel. Most guys we don't want to tell a girl how we say something like we might even say something like I like you, but to use the word love or to you get what I'm saying, go into deep, most guys, they're very good to school, especially when they mean it. If they don't mean it, they might just say it anyhow, just as for whatever reason. But when they actually truly mean it, most guys don't communicate well. And I've had that issue once or twice in the past. Like, I would like a girl, I would think she likes me, I wouldn't be sure. She would send signals, and it would be when she no longer wants to talk to me, that's when I want to tell her that I like her. And she thinks I'm fucking with her head or something, right? But I was a kid. I was like 17, 18. I didn't know shit. But yeah, guys are mostly more terrible when it comes to content and feelings. I feel like girls are better because girls in general, even when I was in secondary school, even in high school in Canada, with learning go 12, most girls I know, they are more feely, they'll sit on each other's laps, they'll tell each other stories, stroke each other's hair, they just communicate, you know. But it's kind of true though, but they just communicate much better about how they truly feel with each other, right? But guys, we're not really like that. Guys, I see my homie this morning, and I want to greet him. I would even say good morning. I just go tap him yo guy, how far was. Do you understand? So it's guys are just a bit different. And sometimes we carry that into relationships. So we can be terrible. But girls are much better at it. But it also depends. That's from a general standpoint. Then there's the be the one that's terrible and the guy is more open, right? And then there's also societal expectations. There's this expectation for guys to always be hard, not say much, just sit down and do you understand? So there's some guys that are actually very feely. They want to express their feelings, but they feel like everybody's telling me if I express how I feel, she's going to reject me, not like me anymore, you know? But that may not necessarily true, but that's just what he was told by his uncle. I had one uncle of mine tell me once, was Tayo, don't be shy. Don't be shy. If you're a shy guy, girls don't like you. Right? And I was thinking, I'm not shy, I'm just quiet. But it kept making me feel like I was shy. And I was just a little kid. I was just what, 7, 8. So, and I carried that on for some years, and I was just quiet, but I'll also be feeling like I'm shy. And I'll hear a few people saying I'm shy. So I'll be thinking, oh, I'm shy. But I was just a quiet guy, right?
Right.
So some people think I'm not trying to communicate, but I was just a quiet guy. I don't really talk much. So it depends. It depends on the individual. But I'll say generally, women are way better at communicating than guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I feel like women are just more, I guess they're more tuned in with their emotions. So we're more likely to tell a guy how we feel. I feel like even
Yeah.
when things get deeper and maybe obviously people start catching feelings and stuff, women tend to be the ones that would express themselves earlier.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but then that could just be in our nature because we're actually emotional, whereas guys are more logical. They're always literally thinking things through 100 times
Yeah.
before
No,
they.
but I've met a lot of guys that are way more emotional than girls though. So
Mm,
these days I actually meet more logical girls than guys these days. Because some guys can always be in the feelings. So It depends. It depends. Also depends on where you grow up. In Nigeria, guys are hard. Just hard. But when I was in Canada, I met way more like guys that just expressed how they feel. You know, they even tell you, yo, Danny, I feel like you're not talking to me. Danny, I feel and I'm looking at the guy like, well, guy, I'm just quiet. Right? But yeah, in Nigeria is like a normal thing. You even greet someone, it's like, I just
Mm,
won't pass, you know.
yeah, but
So it depends on where you are also.
but then yeah, so then you can argue that it's more of a societal thing. I feel like
Yeah,
men are brought up to be harder. They're not really brought up to be in tune with their emotions. It's almost like being someone that who is hard on the exterior makes you more of a man than somebody who's like always expressing their feelings and saying how they feel. Whereas obviously like in the West, men are told that you don't have to be this hard person. Sometimes you can tap into
yeah,
emotions. You need to find a healthy outlet to express your emotions, and all these things. So it can also be
yeah,
down to like the societal view of what a man is and what a woman is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're 100% right about that. Because even when I was in high school, 12, we had this my English teacher gave us this work to do about feminism. She said we should do research on feminism and stuff. And I remember I would see from a Nigerian perspective, and she had to call my dad and said that was a problem, right? But I was just based off my own mindset that time, right? Because I just wrote it based off like my Nigerian person. She wanted me to write based off the good things feminism does. But I
Yeah.
wrote a whole essay on both the good and the bad. And she called my dad. I was shocked, right? So you're 100% right, because over there they teach things a little bit different. And something that I had to like it took me like maybe 3, 4 years before my mind could grasp it, right? But eventually I did. And then to an extent, it has an advantage. It also has a disadvantage. But I would say it's more like a balance, right? Men just need to find like a balance, right? I like before I really first caught deep feelings for a girl the first time. I used to have this mindset of like I would never like okay, like future, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I used to have like a future mindset, like
Oh
I would
God.
never say sorry. I would never like you get like I had this hardened mindset, right? And it wasn't necessarily that I was a hardened guy. It was more so just my upbringing, my family members, uncles and stuff, they were all just hard guys for no reason, right? So, and even in boarding school, like when you are among guys, like if you're among guys in hostel, like we insult each other all the time.
Mm.
We like sometimes we get in fights and you dare not cry. You dare not like complain or whine. Like you have to take it hard. So, but when I got to Canada, it was way different. Like I just saw guys just like expressing their feelings. It was a bit different, right? So sometimes I even be questioning, like, are you sure this guy's a guy? Like, but after a while, I started talking like differently too. But it took years. It took like maybe 5, 6 years. But after a while, I started noticing myself that I was it wasn't like I was always like hard, like too rigid, but I was more calm. Like even my mindset had changed. I was not so hard on certain things, right? Like I even started saying sorry to like some people I never would have said sorry to before, right? So I feel like it's just more of a balance thing, but because I don't know much about because I'm not a girl. I've never been a girl in my life, but for guys, I feel like if you're too hard, it's a problem. If you're too feely, it's also a problem. You have to like find a middle ground in between, you know.
I mean, I agree. I agree with both of you. I think women are the better communicators, but I say that because we are taught to express our feelings just in general.
Yeah.
That we're taught to be transparent. Like if you look at a girl's group chat, well, they're basically exposing our whole life in detail, how we're feeling, why we're feeling that way, why this person made us this way. Do you know what I mean? We send
Yeah.
paragraphs to guys that we're talking to. A
Yeah.
guy will just say, yeah, whatever. Do you know what I mean? I think in general we're just taught to be more expressive, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're the best.
Yeah.
Say that. Okay, let me correct that. I think we are better at expressing our feelings, but when it comes to communications, The problem that we as women have is that we always think we're right because we are always the ones that express our opinions correctly. So we think,
Yeah,
oh, because we've made our point clear, we are the right ones. Whereas guys, they won't. What's the word? They won't. They won't fight back when we have an opinion. It's more so to be like,
yeah,
okay, do you know what? This is how you feel, it is what it is, and kind of move on from that. So I think because of that, we come across like we are the right person and we're the better communicators. But I do think there's a lot of guys that can communicate really, really well. It's just that they don't express themselves in the same way that women do.
yeah,
So lost. That makes sense. So I can
yeah,
say that I consider myself great at, I consider myself good at communicating, but I've come across
yeah,
men who are way better communicators.
Mm.
And it doesn't, I just think, oh, just because a guy likes, there's a lot of guys that know how to communicate. It just so happens that maybe the woman
yeah,
is very much like, I'm right, you're wrong, da, 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 and he just avoids stuff that way. So I think context is important. If the person is right for you, then you will express yourself correctly. If not, you might not
yeah,
communicate.
Yeah.
yeah. No, what you said is 100% true. Because even my mom, like, I hate arguing with my mom, but we argue all the time. And I have never like, if you ever see me outside with girls, like, you barely ever see me argue with a girl. Even a guy like, but with my mom, we argue all the time. And it's like she's my mom, so she knows what buttons to like push and like
Yeah, yeah,
press,
yeah.
right? But also it's because she always like, even if I'm right, she must be right. Like she, yeah. So I learned like basically like a lot of times, and it's not necessarily that the girl isn't right, but like it's more so how would I put it? Like I don't know if to use the word ego, but it's
Right?
it's like a caregiving thing, you know. Most like if you look at little children, like most of the times they feel more comfortable around women, right?
Mm,
So women have this kind of like a teacher mindset. If you
yes.
see all this like childhood education, and when I was in Canada, most childhood education programs is girls that are all in the class, right? So most primary school teachers or like elementary school teachers over there are women, are girls, right? So they always like sometimes they forget they're talking to grown men, you know, they think they try to talk to you like you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
And then from a guy's perspective, you're like, what what the heck? My mom now, she always still sees me like I'm like that 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, right? But I'm 25. I remember one time I got into a big argument. I was even hitting my chest. I was like, I'm a man, right? She came back and told my dad. And he got into this big, he was shouting at me and stuff. But the point is like, I just feel like it's kind of like it's I think it's just how God made it. It's like a maternity
Yeah.
nature just places in the woman, right? It's like it's almost like being over caring, you know? It's not necessarily that you think you're right, it's like you're just over caring, you know? So but yeah, I would like you guys said, women definitely overall for me
Mm-hmm.
communicate better than guys. Even like sometimes I feel like they communicate too much at times. Like because I'll see a girl that hasn't seen her friend in 2 days, just 2 days. And
Mm.
then she just sees her the next day. And they would scream, they would hug everything. Like you think they haven't seen each other for like 10 years, but it's been 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days, like is but you know, but to an extent, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes, even though like I don't think I would wanna wish not to be a guy, but sometimes I look at like girls and I'm like, man, you guys actually have something that guys just don't have, you know,
I never looked.
something that is very nice. The way girls communicate with each other is very nice. Guys can never communicate like to that extent. The way we like, obviously we have the way guys communicate, but still, it's like, how do I explain it? Like, okay, for example, you would be in school, right? And there'll be a guy that wants to be your friend,
Mm.
but he can't come and meet you and tell you, hey, I want to be your friend. So he starts fucking with you, starts pressing your legs, casually, yeah, but he just wants to hang out with you. He just wants to be your friend, right? But you start feeling like this guy is yeah. But for girls, they would just go up and be like, hey, hi, I want to be your friend. And then
Mm.
they're friends. So they're way better at communicating. Boys, sometimes we have to beat each other up before we go play soccer. Like, it's insane, but it's just girls are way better for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like to an extent, I feel like guys can actually learn some things from how girls communicate with each other, but with a little moderation, because guys are still guys. If you're not careful as a guy, you talk like a girl to a guy, he might beat you up, depending on where you are. In Nigeria, for sure they'll be for sure they'll beat you up. So yeah, well, like I said, and like you guys said, balance is just like the main thing. Because
Yeah.
even some girls, I've met some girls that are not that like good at communicating.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, there was a girl I knew, and I always thought she was like a lesbian, like, cause she would like act like a guy, dress like a guy, everything. And this girl was straight, like straight. Until one day I saw her putting on like lipstick and wore a whole skirt. I was shocked, right? But she was just like having issues like expressing herself. It
Yeah.
wasn't that she wanted to be a guy or anything, right? But that was because she was like more of an introvert. She was always by herself. She barely talked. You get so maybe she just needed like friends. So it depends. So it depends on the person, but in general, yeah, definitely women they take the cake.
Yeah. Okay, and the last question I had for you two both was do you feel gender roles within dating has changed and why?
Mm.
Mm.
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah,
Okay.
you go first.
So in a way, I feel like it has, and it goes back to what I was saying about the online dating and how that kind of pans out. So like you know how I was saying like I feel like women have been given a lot more kind of choice um
Yeah,
over like the type of people they date. Like I feel like women are actually put at an advantage nowadays with dating. And because of that, I feel like a lot of women,
Are chasing.
yeah, we're now chasing men because men are no longer doing the man
yeah,
thing of being assertive and asserting their themselves in the dating arena. I feel like nowadays what you have is a girl will talk to a guy for, I don't know, 6 months to a year. When that year
yeah,
ends, the girl still doesn't know what's going on in the relationship. And she has to literally open her mouth and tell the guy that, I see X, Y, and Z happening. How do you feel about this? And then they'll either find that the guy either agrees or the guy has wasted their time. So I feel like women are actually now leading the men, whereas
yeah,
before men were leading the women. So
yeah.
I do
No,
feel women are playing a more active role in dating nowadays, if I'm very honest.
yeah,
So it was, yeah, I
Yeah.
never thought of it. Well, I know where you come from, and I do agree 100%. But I never
Yeah.
thought of it from
yeah,
that
Yeah.
sense that we actually are leading in terms of pursuing. Well, I'm not saying me, but I still prefer traditional.
Yeah.
I prefer the traditional way of doing things, but
Yes.
it is very common that a lot of women are now pursuing men.
Mhm.
Like so many of my guy friends and all that kind of stuff, like they expect to be approached, not doing the approaching.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like even when you go out with yourself, like, the guy,
yeah,
I don't say he acts like a bad bee. That's so disrespectful.
The main character energy. Say it. The main character energy.
The girls, when I see girls
yeah,
like drinks, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh, have we gotten to that stage where we're now doing the chasing? But it's not understandable, but it's gone to a place where the I don't say the art, but the art of dating is kind of lost.
Mm.
We're kind of confused how to date to a certain degree.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
there are definitely not to discredit men, but they are real, manly men that will go out and do what they're supposed to do. Don't get me
Mm.
wrong. And I think when you go older, you'll understand why those rules were there to begin with. Because
yeah,
older guys, they go back to the traditional route. They were there messing up as younger men, but the 30s and over,
yeah,
their dad and uncles and everyone was doing.
Mm.
But yeah, I definitely do see like women pursuing, women chasing, women shooting their shot.
Yeah.
But guys like that nowadays.
Mhm.
Like now they want a guy, they want the girl to have charisma. They want
they
the girl
want to, Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy wants to sit back and be bougie.
Yeah.
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 I'll never do it. So
Yeah.
it's not for me. So
No, it's 100% true. Even in Nigeria, I'm not gonna lie. Like
I'm so
this,
surprised in
like I
Nigeria.
said, this.
Nigeria was patriarchal. Is the word?
it is
Patriarchal.
Yeah,
patriarchal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
yeah, no. Nigeria is a fatherland, so Nigeria is very patriarchal.
mm,
But yeah, but even in Nigeria, things are changing, Loki, because like I said, a lot of guys these days they're looking for girls richer than them. They're looking for girls to buy them Valentine's car and like, man, it's true. But I'll still say guys still pursue more overall globally.
yeah, no, I agree.
But depending on where you are, like places like in the UK, I'll say the roles have switched a lot. Same
Yeah.
thing in Canada. In Canada is that's why I want to come to the UK. I want to even see what it's like. But in Canada, it's like the like okay. I remember I did in high school. I did homestay once, right? And the mom's house, she controlled everything, right? She worked more. She made more money. She decided everything that goes on, and the man just she would tell him go take out the trash, and he was cool with it. And it was way different from my mom and my dad's house. So I was like, no way will my mom tell my dad to go take out the trash. He wouldn't even get up. You just sit down there and look at her like, what? So, but still, I had to adjust and realize that, you know what? Some households are just different and some people just do things differently. And it took me a while, but at some point I realized, you know what? Sometimes it's okay if the woman leads, you know, but it depends on the man that is with the woman. If you have two people that want to lead, it's gonna be a problem,
Yeah.
right? And if you have two people that are just also just following, like it's also gonna be a problem. So the best relation is always when one leads and one follows. If it's the woman leading, then the man follows. If it's the man leading, then the woman follows. So, but when it comes to like you said, switching roles, a lot of the roles these days are switched, especially with like the economy, with like
Yeah.
so many women in the workforce, with Instagram influencers, women finding new ways to make money these
Yeah.
days, like real estate, all sort of things, right? Like these days, a lot of women are like, you know what, I don't want to marry a guy that decides, and I want to make the final decisions. I want to decide when we move to a new house. And they meet some guys that are cool with it. Because actually, I'm not gonna lie, in the world of men, not every man is a leader. I'm gonna be honest. Actually, most men, I don't want to sell out my guys, but most men are kind of followers. Only a few men are actually like wanna do their own. Most guys just wanna like just go play soccer and just get along with every other guy. They don't really wanna lead the group. You get? So even when they get with a girl, they don't mind if she just does most of the things, right? So, but the problem here in Nigeria is that, like, societal wise, if you can be a guy that actually wants a woman that leads more, but if you actually with that woman, everybody else are gonna be calling you behind your back. They're like, oh, look at that guy, his wife makes him do this. Yeah, like they'll be talking you down. Like, so that's the main problem we have in Nigeria. It's not even the patriarchal. It's like people just don't want to feel
Perception.
ashamed.
Mhm.
Yeah, they don't want to feel ashamed. The men don't want to feel ashamed that their wife is leading them, right? But slowly, it's actually changing. Slowly, it's changing slowly, but very, very slowly. But it's changing. But and a lot of the reasons why it's changing the diaspora. A lot of people like me for that. You travel abroad, you come back home. Like most of the people I knew that went to computer science, even places as they schooled abroad, right? Some of them are back, some of them are still there. And as they're back, they have a different mindset, right? So those things is slowly, as they interact with people, is slowly changing Nigerians' mindset. But overall, in Nigeria, the gender roles is still kind of the same, but
Mhm.
it's slowly changing. But in other countries, it's I'll say it's a switch to an extent. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll
Yeah.
say it's a switch. Yeah,
I, I feel like
but
also, so something I heard from somebody, I feel like people are allowing women to take the lead because they're trying to, well, number one, obviously there's a lack of confidence. That's one. But then I think another
yeah,
one, so the fact that women have more privileges in society. So even if you look at the legal position, when it comes to men and women, a man can
Yeah.
go to court and say that he was sexually assaulted. No one will take him seriously. Whereas if a woman goes
Yeah. That's
and says that
yeah.
she's sexually assaulted, everyone will be at her knees, literally. So I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of men are actually treading carefully in terms of their pursuit of women, especially in the Western world,
Yeah.
because of things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That actually affects relationships a lot. Yeah, that is true. That that is 100% true. Because I remember once I had this friend and she told me there was a girl that liked me, and so I was talking to her. And then a friend, I don't know, a friend mentioned something about rape, and since that I just didn't talk to her again. Because I was like, ain't no way I have to explain to my pops that all the way in Canada I'm in court for something I don't even. Do you understand? So I was like, no. So I just stopped talking to her, and she was even asking me, "Do you hate me?" I was like, no. And I explained to her friend, and she didn't say anything in it. But for me, it was like a big deal because I was like, I'm in Canada. This is not Nigeria. Like, that would be it, you know? So I was like, no. So yeah, that a lot of men tread carefully there. So it gives a lot of power. Also, actually, there's a lot of Nigerian men that they go married to like white girls and like even like native black girls and stuff in the UK just for green card. And they have no choice than to do what she says because they know that if they mess up, yeah. So that also affects the roles too. And then there's also the case of like divorce laws, right? So like in Canada that I know, most not if you're the man and you make more money, 9 times out of 10, even if she's the one that asks for a divorce, she's gonna take like half of the whatever it is that you have, or she's going to start getting paid alimony. And most men don't want to pay that, you know? So a lot of times you just go along to get along. Not necessarily because they want to follow the woman, but I don't want to pay $5,000 a month every month, plus child support for the next like what 12, 14, I have a long, right? So that also affects it. But I would say from what I've seen in Canada, specifically like the white population, they are way. I don't think it's just the laws. I think the women, the men just like pleasing their women a lot. They just like pleasing their women a lot and going along with whatever the woman likes or wants.
Think,
But it depends. Like I said, I feel like the main theme here for like most of the questions is like just balance. If you have balance, depending on, you just have to know who you're with. Like if you're a guy, you like to lead. Don't go and marry a girl that likes to lead also. You probably gonna end up divorced because you guys are gonna like fight every day in the household, right? Same thing if you're a girl, you like to lead. Don't go and marry like someone that's like Vladimir Putin that he's not. Do you understand? Like, yeah, it's true. Like, don't marry Justin Trudeau. Like, don't, yeah, like because he's not gonna follow you, yeah, and you're gonna just have fight. So I feel like I said, it's mostly about balance. So, but yeah, majority right now, I would say the world globally in general, gender roles are switching more. But it's switching a lot more because women are just being more empowered. Like even in Nigeria, you see a lot of women these days are doing big things. From Okoji Iweala. So like they are like big women in politics. I always say Nigeria had the first female president already. I say it as a joke. I
Mm.
say Goodluck Jonathan's wife was our first was our first president because she spoke out more than him. She came out on press conference. She was out there doing a lot for him, right? So I always look at her as like so. And if you look at Goodluck Jonathan, like I said, look at Goodluck Jonathan's wife. You could tell that his wife was more hard in the household than him, right? But he was still our president. But my point is, in general, is that to each his own. Like depending on how it works for you, but women are definitely like changing the norms, like whatever people always thought was the norms. But then again, I feel like some of these norms, it's not actually African cultural norms. If you actually look at like a lot of African cultures like Zulu, even Yoruba, Igbo and stuff, right? yes, we're patriarchal, but if you actually look at it deep down, it's the like I'm a Christian, but still, it's
I was
when
gonna
they
say,
bought like when they colonized us, they bought a lot of rules. You
Mm.
get like men, boys, you gotta have your hair low. All this like they brought a lot of rules and in place on us, right? Before that, you had like Yoruba women. They used to call them like Iyaloja. So it's like the marketplace, right? It was
Same
Yoruba women
even.
that controlled it, and that was like the entire economy of Yoruba land controlled by women. So to say like that's why sometimes I always tell some girls, I said, so don't overthink what white people tell you about African culture. Like women have always, if you really look into the history, women have always had like a lot of like roles and power.
Mhm.
Some of them even used to be part of like they used to call it Oyo Mercy. Like those are the people that pick the king.
Mm.
Yeah, some of the women used to be part of it. So what all I'm just saying in general is I feel like the reason why Africa is so patriarchal right now is part of colonization. You
Mm.
know, if you look at South Africa, they are way different. If you go to South Africa, it's like completely different from Nigeria. The women control it. Even in Ghana, this guy, I like I said, I'm schooling in Ghana right now. When I'm there, it's way different. They even call it mother, us fatherland. There's motherland,
Mm.
right? And they are way different. The women, most of the men are lazy. They don't do anything. The women, almost all the landlords I've had are women.
Mm.
Everywhere I go, I just see women with big cars. They just balling, right? And I'm like, yeah, in Africa, you know. So it depends on the society you are. It depends on the country you're in, right?
Yeah. I think
It
just to
depends
add,
on the country. You're
I think it's important first of all to define gender roles because at the end gender norms, I think like you can still be powerful, but for example, for a woman, you can
in.
submit to your man and still earn more money to them, more money than them. And you can be a leader and be the protector of your household and still earn less money.
Yeah,
And I think it's number one, it's important to define like, okay, how do you define gender roles in that sense?
yeah,
And like
yeah,
you said, I think religion plays a huge part of it. Like society's become so much more secular.
yeah,
So our roles are usually defined by religion or religious institution,
yeah,
whatever religion you follow. Um, now that we are less secular, there's no intention for us to follow what the Bible says to that degree. So if it's like also women submit to your husband, you're not
yeah.
even,
Mm.
you know.
No,
I
wait,
think
yeah, yeah. A lot of guys take the submission thing too deep to an extent, right? Like I remember I was talking to one girl and she was like, "Oh, when I go about something, so I was like, and the thing in my mind, I didn't say anything to her, but the thing in my mind was like, I've never thought once about asking any girl to submit to me. Because the main thing in my mind is, does she even like me? That's the first thing. Not is she going to submit, right? Because I feel like if she likes me, we'll get along better than submission. A lot of guys take the submission thing deep because when they think of submission, they're thinking of like, our forefathers, like you carry a table, you make food, you put it on the you kneel down, you give it
serve with
to
your
him.
right hand.
Carry a glass, yeah, carry a glass of palm wine, you kneel down, you give it to him, like almost like a slave, But I see it more like also that was during that time because like as time changes because of with technology and stuff as time changes certain things have to change during that time they didn't have phones they didn't have like airplanes they didn't have a lot of things that we have today right so they are they are like they are like societal norms for men and women is
Yeah.
far different right and I'm a Christian I believe in the Bible but still I'm not trying to say it's archaic but still I feel like some people when they want to control like society like I'm not trying to target pastors but some pastors when they want to like control like their congregations they hammer in on certain verses in the Bible but they forget the context to it right everything has its context and its time that was during that time I would say submission for a woman to a man right now would be just getting along with him you
Mm.
know you know for example, I make let's say I make 200K a year. She makes 150K a year, right? Let's say I pay all the light bills, all the house bills, but she buys all the food stuff,
Mm.
right? So she's not struggling with you. You get, she just getting along with you, right? Because the first, okay, I don't want to talk too much about it, right? But like the first man, woman, Adam, Eve, right? The whole point was that Eve was supposed to just keep Adam company, right? It wasn't for her to turn to a slave and like be kneeling down every time he wants to eat. She was just there to keep him company, right? And a lot of guys forget that, you know? They forget that like sometimes the best part of having a woman around you is just the company, you know? The same thing for some girls. They also forget that, you know, they start becoming too demanding and it this, that, that. They forget that sometimes just talk, keep each other company. So the whole submission thing, I feel like it's taken too deep. A lot of guys take it too deep, way too deep, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of guys take it way too, especially in Nigeria, and I won't even just say it's just a Christian thing, even though I'm not a Muslim, but like I'm Jehovah, like almost half of Yorubas are Muslims. I have uncles and aunts that are Muslims, and sometimes they take it way too deep, like. Like you can show skin, you gotta like wear the like they take it way too deep, right? So it depends. But I've also met some Muslims that don't. Their wife is free. She travels to Mecca by herself. She doesn't, you know. So it depends on the man. It depends on the woman. Like I said, in life, most of the things is just about balance. If you can just find a balance in your life, then you just like flow. But when you don't have a balance, then that's when it's like you're struggling about gender roles and stuff. I have a little sister, she disturbs me all the time.
Yeah.
I asked her, I collected a remote from her, and the first thing she goes, "You didn't ask." And I'm 10 years older now. Like, what am I supposed to ask you? And then she goes, "Respect is reciprocal." Hey, you always say respect is reciprocal. I was like, okay, right? But she's getting older. She's growing wings. She talks back. It is what it is. But I always love her. Why? Because she's not supposed to turn to my slave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would not want any man to turn my sister to my slave. It would become like a huge problem between me and him. So
Yeah.
I just feel like you guys said, balance, man. And like general shouldn't be taken too deep. It
Yeah,
shouldn't be taken too deep.
definitely. Yeah. So I think this is all we kind of have time for because again,
Yeah.
late is inspiring. But I'd like
Yeah.
to
I
thank
think
my guests for coming on
yeah.
and sharing their input. I think it was a really productive conversation, don't you think?
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really nice. It was really
Yeah.
nice. And my mindset opened up a little to certain things also.
Yeah.
As
That's
I had
good.
you guys talking. Yeah. Yeah,
That,
no, it's nice. It's nice. Because
yeah.
one of the problems of guys that we have is that we can be stuck in our own heads. But when you hear a female's perspective, you're like, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think
I hear
vice
you.
versa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
just gonna stop the recording so that it doesn't like, suddenly stop.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's okay. It was
Okay.
nice
Thanks.
meeting you. It was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Sekina.
Tina.
Shakina.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope I can come to the UK